My today's lecture is Introduction to Azerbaijani Multiculturalism Model. Hello dear students, I'm Kazım Azimzade, visiting professor to Malmo University, Faculty of Culture and Society, Department of Language and Linguistics, Section Russia and the Caucasus Regional Studies, RUCAR. In this introductory lecture, I will shortly outline the main goals and essentials of Azerbaijani Multiculturalism Model. However, before exposing it, I would like to refer you to some sources and academic articles and books that concern multiculturalism in general and Azerbaijani multiculturalism in particular. So let me overview the literature. The readings here for multiculturalism as a concept, theoretical approaches to it, and conceptual models suggest students should read the following literature. I selected the references according to two principles. First, the selection is based on some big ideas about multiculturalism. Second, when the sources directly concern the Azerbaijani multiculturalism in particular. This means that our selection of the references is adapted to the case study of Azerbaijani multiculturalism, which do not contrast with other models of multiculturalism around the world. So, the first serial articles are about multiculturalism in a very famous Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy and let's say Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy and some other theoretical writings about multiculturalism are suggested to read. So the first point I'm going just to make is that strategic goal or goals of the course. Under the strategic goals, we mean some philosophic and methodological principles and ethical commitments that underpin the essential ideas of the course and the methods of its teaching at universities. The structure of this course model can be divided into two equal parts. While the first part deals with Azerbaijani multiculturalism as a normative idea in the context of contemporary social science methodologies and theoretical approaches to multiculturalism in general, our goal is to find out the common and specific points, different and overlapping perspectives among the multiculturalism models, but in no way contrast Azerbaijani multiculturalism with other types of multiculturalism. In this connection, the interdisciplinary approach to multiculturalism and the conjunction of different disciplines like philosophy, sociology, cultural studies, political philosophy and political science perspectives is much relevant and productive. What is important in this regard is that Azerbaijani model multiculturalism is deprived of any racial and religious discriminations. The philosophy underpinning the Azerbaijani model of multiculturalism we define as the philosophy of the unity in diversity principle, the fundamentals of which can be derived from the classic culture, heritage, and sociocultural traditions of Azerbaijani peoples, in which the religious values have been crucial in shaping the virtuous ethics of sympathy and empathy in treating the us and the other, we and they, dichotomy among multi-ethnic and multicultural Azerbaijan. Our theoretical approach is based on a constructionist philosophical vision of multiculturalism phenomenon, which treats multicultural values as human-conducted, human-constructed, and human-made realities of the live world, according to the terminology Jürgen Habermas. The constructionist philosophy states that we may want to see the world differently because we view the world through different lenses. One is not able to see the world in the same way as others see it. If A, then B. The classic logic of existence today consists of the fuzzy logics on the one side, or to the logic of plurality, relativity, and probability. This means that we should take into account different opinions, plural ideas about multiculturalism, and not a universally agreed, accepted by everybody, everyone, the definition of multiculturalism. This is not the case. The course teaching strategies apply in the disciplinary didactic approaches to multiculturalism, which has its words as pedagogical principle to apply to the teaching the courses either on undergraduate or graduate levels at universities, because solution to multiculturalism issues can properly be sought at the conduction of sciences and humanities. It depends just whether we go to the science courses or the humanities or social science courses. Depending on the concrete context, different interdisciplinary strategies will be explored within this course. For example, if the guiding epistemology is that of the humanities, this means that the mode of connecting disciplinary materials of multiculturalism is likely to be contextualizing, which means embedding the facts and theories in the cultural, historical, and ideological fabric. If the scientific method guides the standard of integration of knowledge, conceptualizing work typically takes place. Finally, if the mode of discussion is that of applied sciences or product or creative product or policy development, the integrative process of knowledge will take the form of problem-based talk about the crucial issues. The second part of this course focuses on Azerbaijani multiculturalism as a fact or process, different from the first part where we just viewed Azerbaijani multiculturalism as an idea. So they are in between idea and the fact or the process, the making of the issue, so implementing that. In simple ways that in the second part we focus on the state measurements or mechanisms at how to implement the idea of multiculturalism. Of course, the span of time is very short, and to require from the states, newly developing states, that to do all these issues a sort of perfect multiculturalism, perfect democracy, and perfect policy making, it's very difficult and it's very hard that, because if we take into account the experience of the Western countries, so they have been doing that for 300 years, and still so we cannot say that we have an ideal type of, say, that multiculturalism, ideal type, say, that policy making or democracy, that can be accepted by all around the world. So the core meaning, and I would like just to talk about, to say in some brief words about the core meaning and definition of the term multiculturalism, because as a term is so, that there is a lot of misunderstanding around the term too. So my way that doing that is that term has been introduced, like in short words, that to the academic literature approximately since 60s and 70s or 20th century. Since then it has been used in different meanings, which is in turn make it very difficult to understand the essence of the term and the concept. Therefore, the practical teaching of multiculturalism implies, as one of its necessary conditions, the deep knowledge about the essence of this phenomenon in the 21st century. The term is usually used both in broad and narrow senses. The broad use of the term implies etymological meaning, which is a synonym to the concept multicultural. It is well known that the word multiculturalism in the Latin language means many cultures, pluricultures, yes, and plural cultures. And when we say multicultural, we mean the ethnic, racial, religious, and cultural diversities in the society, and the values underpinning those diversities. when we say about multiculturalism, we imply the state's responses to these diversities of the cultural, religious, and ethnic minorities living together in one society. So we clearly demarcate between multicultural and multiculturalism concepts. They are different things. And multicultural, of course, is broader than multiculturalism. So this means that many states can be in the world, so multicultural, but not all states say that multiculturalism. For example, Japan is multicultural, but it's not multiculturalism. It is qualified in the literature in this way. So I agree with this definition, and I accept it, and so I want my students just to read about this issue. Lots of literature so dedicated to this differentiation. The cultural diversity, this is very important and umbrella concept, involves other diversities which exist objectively in the majority of the contemporary world states. Diversity not only characterizes the contemporary nations' ethnic and cultural values, but also underpins the worldwide interactions in live world, according to terminology of Habermas. In modern times, most states in the world have ethnic, racial, religious, and social diversities. These diversities have emerged as a result of development of historical and social processes in society. Diversities form the basis of their outlooks and activities by characterizing the ethnic and cultural values which play a positive role in their lives. We call a society a multicultural society because different ethnic, racial, religious, and cultural groups coexist in one geographical and political space and live together in peaceful manner, in peaceful way. Therefore, in the broad sense of the word, many states are multicultural, as I just mentioned it earlier, in modern times. In the narrow sense of the word, multiculturalism depicts the concrete policy of the state in relation to its ethnic, racial, religious, and cultural diversity groups existing in society. Multiculturalism as a social and political phenomenon consists of several important components or elements which together constitute the definition of multiculturalism, which is made according to these components, or say that the elements. Even though there is, as I told, there is no universally agreed upon and accepted concept of this phenomenon, we hold in our lecture to the following definition of multiculturalism. According to this definition, multiculturalism is a system of beliefs and behaviors that recognizes and respects the presence of all diverse groups in society, acknowledges and values their social-cultural differences, and encourages and enables their continued contribution within an inclusive cultural context which empowers all within the society. As you notice, so there are 4 points or pairs or action phrases that give substance to these definitions. These are beliefs and behaviors, recognizes and respects, acknowledges and values, encourages and enables, and the concept empowers. All these core elements and or components, so they are so interwoven, interlinked, there is a dialectic relationship between them. So whenever we just give a sort of definition, so these components should be necessarily so included into the definition of that concept. So, for example, the first is a recognition, of the rich diversity in a given society or organization. For the longest time, racial, ethnic, religious minorities, the physically disabled, and women have not been given the same recognition as others. And I call this is one-sided approach to the history and education. When women, disability groups, or so were excluded in the society, so from privileges, etc. Whenever there is recognition, we also have the concept, the notion respect. As you know that modern nation states recognize the existence of diverse groups, but do not demonstrate respect in respect to this group. So we have, again, one-sided, relationship here, so one-sided approach to the understanding of this concept. The respect is the process whereby the other is treated with esteem, courtesy, and compassion in an attempt to safeguard the integrity and dignity, value, and social worth of the individuals. It means treating people the way they want to be treated. I name this as a golden middle way rule of virtuous ethics of how to behave towards the other. This is a humanistic principle, ethical principles, so that very famous both in the Western and Eastern social philosophy and philosophic thought and intellectual thought. So respect and recognition are not the same, since recognizing the existence of a group does not necessarily elicit respect for the group. I told about that. And we know also the examples from the nation states with a long history not respecting the rights of the powerless. The third element is multiculturalism also entails acknowledging the validity of the cultural expression and contribution of the various groups. These cultural expression and contributions that differ from those of the dominant group in society are actually acknowledged when there is actually an economic market for them. So somebody is selling, the other is buying that. Multiculturalism thus means valuing what people have to offer and not rejecting or belittling it simply because it differs from what the majority, the dominant group says about the issue or about the value or the importance of the matter. The fourth element is also very important, that people are encouraged and people are enabled, and so this helps them to implement their contribution of the various groups, different groups to society and organization. The fifth one that we're enable here is very important because this is the end result of all these components whenever they come together. Because what lies behind it is the concept of empowerment of the people. The minority groups, ethnic groups, racial groups, etc. So they should be enabled. The final part of this definition, multiculturalism, is within inclusive cultural context. Because we know that many societies are exclusive by their context, and inclusiveness is very important in the matter like multiculturalism or interculturalism. And so if we're implementing democratic norms, democratic ideas, democratic projects in the society, so much depends on that, whether the society or the groups are inclusive or either exclusive. This is very important. We should note that. But many people fear that multiculturalism will bring in foreign concepts and ideas which will deviate the nation from its historic course and transform the nation state into something different from what it has been. Methodologically speaking, we clearly differ between the concept of multicultural and multiculturalism. So I talked about that a lot, so I'm not just going to stay on that. But I would like just to mention about the idea, so some ideas so that give clue to understanding of these concepts worldwide. So in terms of multiculturalism, multicultural, ethnic varieties, ethnic diversities, multinational, multi-ethnic entities and identities. According to some, let me bring you some sociological data from my own estimation too, and with some reference to other literatures. According to some estimates, there are over 5,000 ethnic minorities in the world. And only from 9 to 11% of the 200 internationally recognized nation states are ethnically homogeneous. in that sense that their ethnic minority comprise less than 5% of the total population. Therefore, almost all states are multi-ethnic and multinational. They are religiously, culturally, ethnically diverse entities and identities. However, not all states are multiculturalism, as I talked about that. Let me just speak somewhere in brief ways that talking about features of Azerbaijani multiculturalism models too. And again, so I'm introducing your readings and literature, especially dedicated to Azerbaijani multiculturalism. And so you'll get through this literature, you can find that online, and so we have here the sites. So in most modern states, ethnic, racial, religious, cultural diversity are the result of development of the historical processes and consequent and objective character of the social and political history itself. One important feature of the Azerbaijani multiculturalism is embedded in its historical and geographical locations. Exactly, the location of Azerbaijan is at the crossroads of Asia and Europe, has made the country a unique socio-cultural space and that embraces diverse ethnic, cultural, religious entities and identities. A sort of the richest mosaic bowl, but not like melting pot, I'll say that in America or somewhere, that mosaic bowl that is made of diverse ethnic, cultural, and national groups in Azerbaijan. Like Azerbaijan, there are many countries with favorable historical geographical conditions to protect these diversities. However, the states that consider protection of this diversity as one of their main tasks, their policies are very small in number around the world. The Republic of Azerbaijan is one of the states that recognize multiculturalism as a state policy and ideology, having declared 2016 as a year of multiculturalism in the Republic of Azerbaijan. The President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Mr. Ilham Aliyev, has stated that multiculturalism is state policy. Let me cite his words directly from the sources. There is no alternative, he says, to multiculturalism. Of course, we know that there are different opinions and views on the issues. He meant whenever, for example, France or say that United Kingdom, and after that, so the Chancellor, of Germany is they declined multiculturalism. So having, of course, some reasons for that. But anyway, so Mr. President is speaking about that. So we know about these opinions and about these views on the issue of multiculturalism. But he says, some argue that multiculturalism has failed, but there are positive examples too. For us, multiculturalism, this is very important, is a state policy and our lifestyle. So two principles have been defended or advocated here in defense of the originality or uniqueness of the Azerbaijani multiculturalism, that it is already the state policy, and actually state has done a lot. So if I have time, so I give the mechanism, and the decrees and the laws adopted at the level of parliament, at the level of, say, governmental structures, different, or even mayors of the city at different areas or districts. So directly to the implementation of the decree of Mr. President and declaring the multiculturalism as a state policy in our country. Historically, Azerbaijan is a multicultural and tolerant country where multiculturalism is promoted to the level of social life and cultural traditions of the people. The implementation of large projects for the protection of ethnic and cultural diversity has become the care of Azerbaijani government. Azerbaijan has become both nationally and internationally the center of multiculturalism. Many Western countries show growing interest to the rich experience gained by multiculturalism, which we see the evidence, for example, teaching the course of multiculturalism in different Western universities, or say European universities, East European universities, and so in Japan and in Asian countries too. And Azerbaijani multiculturalism course in a number of American Western universities. But we great, of course, welcome this and this very nice news so that to hear about it. What's the subject matter of the discipline? Yes, I want just to say in some short words about the subject matter, but not long. The subject matter of Azerbaijani multiculturalism is to reflect on and teach students the reasons of its formation in Azerbaijan for centuries. Its essence, theoretical, ideological, legal, normative basis, different aspects including its advantages, even to some cases disadvantages, the state of art and perspectives of development. The main purpose of the Azerbaijani multiculturalism as a university discipline is to explain to the student the essence of multiculturalism policy of the Republic of Azerbaijan, its features and reasons for the successful implementation of this policy in the country. What concerns the methods of Azerbaijani multiculturalism, they are the same methods for, let's say that for other social sciences. This is the methods of observation, comparison, measurement, experiment, induction, deduction, analysis, synthesis, abstracting or summarizing. The same methods so that we just observe in social sciences. In addition, of course, the quantitative and especially the qualitative and interpretative social science research, what are the product of the recent history of the development of social sciences. Methods are widely explored within the frame of Azerbaijani multiculturalism too as well. Some words about the Azerbaijani multiculturalism being of lifestyle and its philosophies that's behind of this lifestyle. So that philosophy I have formulated on my own, so we cannot just read that in the textbooks as some other things that also that we cannot just come across with them in the textbook. So in the course of, the lecturing, so we try just to promote this. As a lifestyle, the multiculturalism so promotes multiculturalism as an integral part of the civil society, the state ideology and state policy of the Azerbaijani Republic. The subsequent stages of the developed multiculturalism are related to its transformation into the state ideology and state policy in Azerbaijan. The main role in realization of these stages belongs to the state, of course. The transformation of multiculturalism into a lifestyle citizen is the highest stage of development in Azerbaijan. The transformation of multiculturalism into state policy and lifestyle in Azerbaijan indicates its higher development. President Ilham Aliyev considers the transformation of multiculturalism into a lifestyle of Azerbaijanis as an important advantage. I am citing his words. The dominant atmosphere of goodwill, interreligious, interethnic relations and values of multiculturalism in Azerbaijan are our lifestyle. But if we look at some other countries, we will see that this is not the case. On the contrary, national religious confrontations, wars, clashes occur, bloodshed on sectarian religious grounds. He even tells about the xenophobias, both in Asian countries and Western countries, and whenever he just questioned, okay, is there any alternative to multiculturalism? If yes, if the answer is positive, so he said that it means that the alternative it is either xenophobia, hate, humiliation, violence, all sort of negative things, and which is why so that he insists on that and so accept the multiculturalism as a state policy and tries that to do his best that to widen the concept among the population, to make it very popular among peoples, for which purpose that medias in Azerbaijan, newspapers, so and reporting are doing many things. But all these, of course, as I told you, that the first steps we are making in this direction, but it's long way away ahead. So we should go further and further, that to reach a sort of, maybe type of multiculturalism, which is approximate to, let's say, to the ideal type in the sociological sense of that term. And what's important in this regard is that Azerbaijani model of multiculturalism is deprived, I told about that, of any racial discrimination, which are central to many countries in the world. We know about that. I want just to give my definition of the philosophy that behind all this multiculturalism. The philosophy underpinning Azerbaijani model of multiculturalism, in my view, can be defined like this way: the philosophy of unity in diversity principle, the fundamentals of which can be derived from the classic cultural heritage and social cultural tradition and social sort of Azerbaijani people, in which the religious values have been crucial in shaping the various virtuous ethics of sympathy and empathy, in treating the us and the other, we and they, dichotomy among and multi-ethnic and multicultural Azerbaijan. Of course, we can find alternatives to this definition. This is not the only definition that can be accepted at all, but it's worth of discussing, the topic, and to see that what sort of alternative can be just put forward in respect in relation to this definition, and to disclose, say, that the meaning, deeply or thoroughly, so it should be debated. As a policy, the main difference between multiculturalism and other policies, say isolation or assimilation, all sorts of things that belong into these groups, which also aim to the regulation of ethnic cultural diversity, is that it focuses on the protection and even development of ethnic, racial, religious, and cultural diversity within society, under one jurisdiction of sovereign state. Due to its advantages, multiculturalism policy, which differs from assimilationist and isolation policies, prevents the elimination of ethnic values of national minorities and creates necessary conditions for ethnic cultural values of ethnic minorities to interact with the ethnic cultural values of titular ethnic groups. And let me just remind you about the new ideas. That's the alternative, even the that rival ideas to multiculturalism. So, and this is just idea. This idea is shaped and being promoted at Max Planck Institute in Germany, and with the name of super diversities. This group of scientists that, when they reshaped Max Planck University recently, so they opened the department, headed Svetkov, I think, yes, scientist from United Kingdom. So who just the lead of the group. So they are writing about the super diversities, of course, and say the Canadian scholars with the leadership of Will Kimlicka, so they defend their arguments, so, and continue just debating with this school of thoughts. But it's very interesting, however, so maybe that height they will find so that very large auditorium, but this is in future, the question of the future perspective, but we cannot say it at present time, for example, so because many things that are unclear in their arguments, whenever they just go against the multiculturalism, say as an idea or as an institute, or say that a policy-making instrument, So, and that's why students should know about the new trends in this area of studies too.